just say it right now. I want one of these so bad. What am I in today? I am in the new C8 Corvette. So happy to be here. I turned down the air conditioning. Turned out to be such a beautiful day today. I mean, it's not going to be a bad day. I'm in a 2020 C8 Corvette with a big thanks to those at Humberview Performance and C8 Toronto. This is C8 Toronto's vehicle. You can check out C8 Toronto on Instagram. Thank you so much for letting me drive your C8 Corvette. And my lord, oh my god, I mean, just listen to that. I'm sure you can hear that pretty well. The gear down. Oh, come on. Wow. Okay, so first and foremost, I am a C7 owner. I own a C7 Stingray, which I love. It was my first American vehicle in a very long time. And this C8, I gotta say, I was kind of coming into it assuming I'm gonna like the vehicle. And of course, I do very much like this vehicle, as does the person in the Mustang next to me right now. I was so looking forward to driving this car, and C8 Toronto actually was happy to loan it to me right away, except they got into the performance bits. So you'll notice this car has aftermarket wheels. It also has a side skirt that's actually developed, actually made by Humberview Performance, and you can buy side skirts for this vehicle, these exact ones. There's also a front splitter from Humberview Performance as well, and they're going to copy this rear wing, because although this rear wing on this car is factory, they're not making it anymore. And it's actually, of the wings I've seen on the car, this is one of the wings I like the most, actually. It's really quite nice. But the niceness doesn't end there. This has got to, I'm just generally impressed by the car overall, because being a C7 owner, I'm definitely one of those people who, you know, this car has to make happy, we'll say. I can't express to you how smooth the power delivery is in this car. This car has a double clutch transmission, but it's by Tremec. And the reason why that's important is that it was specifically designed for this car, and by a company whom you've heard me name before in this in my Tuesday test drive videos. Most recently with Ryan Valent's build of his Mark V. From Factory 5 Performance, excuse me, his Mark IV Roadster, which had a Tremec 5-speed. Well, this is a double clutch gearbox made by Tremec specifically for this car, and there's a massive, massive cavernous difference between a C7 and a C8. So let's get it out of the way for those who don't know. I think the name Corvette is so ubiquitous, people forget the fact that Corvette was named after a warship or a boat, actually a small agile boat that was, you know, heavily gunned, and one that they would use in the Navy as a sort of a scout style sort of protection ship, we'll call it. Very stout, very agile, and heavily armed. Well, that's kind of what a Corvette is: very stout, very agile, and heavily armed. So what's the big news on the C8? Well, the C8, or the 8th generation, has got something really different about it. And the big difference is that where the engine is. For the first 7 generations of the Corvette since 1953 up until 2019, the Corvette had the engine at the front. Why did they go to rear engine? Well, they pretty much took a front engine car and made it about as fast as it could possibly go. And as a lot of people may know, some of the fastest race cars don't have the engine at the front, they have the engine at the back. And when you have the engine at the back or placed in the middle of the car, you get a much more agile, much more predictable vehicle overall. My C7 is a Stingray. It's a grand touring car. It's never really meant to go on a racetrack. It's very comfortable, very tractable. It's got lots of power, but it's not like sort of, I'll say, 911 power, where you can use 100% of it mid-corner accelerating. That's not going to happen in my car. You'll die. This car is a little bit different, though. Now that we have the engine placed in the middle of the vehicle, we also have the ability to make this car extremely agile. And it's noticeably agile. It's noticeably more agile than my Corvette. This thing is completely different. And I can see why C8 Toronto loves it so much and really doesn't want to stop driving it, because I really don't want to give this car back, actually. It's really that nice. On the inside of the car, It's really hard to compare this to my C7 because it's changed so drastically. The architecture, the sort of design elements are still there. Everything's very much cockpit oriented. Everything is mine as the driver. All the buttons and the switchgear on the car have gone up to a level that is far beyond even expectation, I think, for your average, certainly your average Corvette buyer. And some of your average Corvette buyers, they might not like some of the notes on this car. There's no manual transmission available. Some other things they might not like. They might just not like the fact of the shape of the car. Once a car becomes mid-engine, the shape looks different. That's why exotic cars all have that flat, very sort of wide wedge shape. I understand that they've made the wheel wells big on this car for obvious reasons, because customers will want to put on bigger wheels and tire setups and all that sort of stuff. I totally get that. But I'm actually kind of surprised. The only thing that surprises me is I've seen some of the cars in the showroom, and they have a beautiful red convertible in the showroom, which actually, I gotta say, the look of the coupe and the convertible in the Corvette is probably one of the nicest, prettiest iterations I've seen of a coupe hardtop convertible. And I shouldn't say coupe, it's a Targa. Once again, the C7 and C8 do not come in a coupe format. You look at a Corvette, you might think it's a coupe, but it's not. This top has a party trick, and that party trick is that top comes off and it fits in the rear of the car, just like every other Corvette from the last 2 generations. And I'll say this because the red convertible that I can show you some footage of right now that's in the showroom is the one minor difference, and it's easy to tell a Targa version Corvette to a hardtop convertible Corvette by the rear glass. The rear glass in the convertible is flat, as you can see in this picture from inside the showroom. This is a beautiful red model that a lucky customer is taking home. And you can see that rear glass has that angle to it, whereas on the C8 Corvette that I'm sitting in right now, this Targa model has that sweeping glass that goes around just right over the engine. So you have that beautiful sort of like see-through view of the engine, which is amazing, because if you're not going to look at the engine, you might as well listen to it. When you push it into Z mode, it automatically flips the dash, and now all of a sudden the car wants to get up and go, and it even gears down a little bit faster. I have to say, I haven't touched the paddle shifters yet on this vehicle. It shifts very, very quickly, very well, and it takes fantastic guesses as to when you want to actually do the shifting, which is always great, because that means we got some great programming in the vehicle. You also have front and rear camera switches, which are great. It's great that it has just a dedicated button to flip to camera view. So now I got a view of the front of the car and the back edges of the car, especially when you're parking a mid-engine car. It's very difficult to see everything around you. It's not like being in an SUV or something more where your seating position is a little bit higher. So there's a few things to work around, but other than that, I would say generally everything in the car is really up to a high standard now. We're seeing a much higher standard on the Corvette, a much higher standard in every aspect. All the switches, the gears, even just the buttons and switches, they have this great shine to them. And there is a mixture of plastics and metals. There's pewter colors, there's these sort of like actual aluminum finishes, and mixed with some plastic finishes, yes, but they're very realistic looking and they look great. And just everything is so lovely stylized. All the switches have a beautiful sort of aircraft quality, we'll say. Everything has like a toggle and a switch to it. We have Savini rims on this vehicle, front and back. They're 20 and 21s. We also have a Hennessy Performance exhaust, which you can hear right now. I have it in Z mode or Z mode, depending on which country you're in. And I got to say, big thanks again to the folks at Humberview Performance and C8 Toronto for letting me use their C8 with the new rims and tires and exhaust and side skirts. This is a really cool looking car, and one that obviously while I've been driving it gets a lot of looks. But we got a whole bunch of other cars on the channel. We're cresting on 50 videos actually, and I might have another Humberview Performance car to enjoy on my next test drive soon, so that'll be great as well. So be sure to like and subscribe. See if we can find something else fun to drive, something you'd be able to check out on the next Tuesday test drive. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. That's insane. What a